Welcome to Prevea On the Move. I'm Mike LaMere, your trainer and director. Today we're going to be talking about tapering. I'm here with Sean Ryan, our director of the Cellcom Marathon. Sean, how is the best way that we should be tapering in the next couple weeks coming up to the marathon?
Sure. The last couple weeks coming up to the marathon is an important time to actually back off on your distance. A lot of first-time runners especially aren't familiar with what tapering is and what the intention of it is. You need to back down on your frequency of running, you need to back down on your mileage of running, and you need to focus on getting regular rest, especially race week, because realizing it or not, the last few months you've put your body through a lot of abuse, and even though you're starting to feel strong and very confident about your physical conditioning and your ability to go the distance on race day, you need to give your body a chance to recover just before race weekend.
Is there anything that we should be eating or drinking or anything that we should be doing on the other side of that to make ourselves ready for that marathon day?
Sure. Carbo loading is a good idea. Maintaining discipline in your diet, staying away from the fatty foods, staying away from a lot of sugars and things like that. Of course, runners always carbo load the week going into the race, and that's a good idea because you need that slow burning fuel on race day. But you don't want to change too much in your regimen. Now is not a time to be trying new foods, new drinks, or new techniques in your running. It's not a time to buy a new pair of shoes and try to break them in within 2 weeks of the race.
The biggest thing that, like Sean's been saying, is that we should not resist the taper, and that's the biggest thing. We got to make sure we are taking care of our bodies. And Sean's going to be reading a little bit, a nice little poem, I guess you came up with a couple years ago, that talks about do not resist the taper.
Sure. A few years ago, I noticed a chronic tendency in our trainees at the Saturday training runs to go beyond the distances that we were suggesting. And despite my pleas, they kept pushing the distances up the last 2 weeks before the run. So with that in mind, I wrote the following poem, Do Not Resist the Taper. Here at the precipice, at the end of all things, with the miles under your belt and the finish line in sight, the most difficult of all times in your training arrives, the taper. Do not resist the taper. This is the time for the body to rest, to relax, to recover, like a prize fighter catching his breath before going in for the final round, like Mother Nature reaching utter stillness before her impending fury, like a gentle back rub before, well, use your imagination, do not resist the taper. Ah, but you, O great and mighty distance runner, you are prone to resist. You have become consumed by your own power, your own endurance, dare I say it, your own invincibility. Do not resist the taper. Like an addict, you rationalize and you bargain. The schedule says 8 miles, but I'm just going to do an easy 16. You tell your coworkers or spouse nonchalantly as you walk out the door, unaware of them shaking their heads and muttering freak under their breath. Do not resist the taper. Race day is nearly upon us. The finish line and its horde of spectators beckon to you, calling for you to go the distance and claim your prize. Do not be anxious. Do not be hasty. Do not resist the taper. Best of luck.
Thank you, Sean. For more information about tapering, go to Prevea.com. This is Mike LaMere with Sean Ryan for Prevea On the Move.